in a environment that you can do that in. So good evening, guys. It's just about 7 o'clock, and we are doing our kind of monthly free watercolor drop-in with me. My name is Hema, and I teach at the Arts Council, but I also teach in my home studio. I'm a watercolorist. Um, I'm hearing some background sound. I'm not sure whose it is, but if it's somebody's, if they could mute. I found this image because of friends. Why are we painting compost? Well, it's that time of year. I start to look at my garden and I start to look at all the real mess that's outside. If you dig into your garden beds, you're going to see that. I'm not much of a gardener. I am a recent entrant into this field of awesomeness. I am very lucky to have some local friends who are master gardeners, and they are also my ceramic buddies and watercolor buddies. Well, over the pandemic, like many people, I discovered my backyard and started to grow things. And then I got fascinated by the beauty in compost. So I hope you can see this. This is one of the paintings I did from this particular photo reference. It's almost finished. It's kind of finished. And as you can see, that crazy tomato was actually one of the reasons why I wanted to paint this entire image. And then I, of course, love the pineapple head and all of that. The way we're going to jump into this, I'm just doing a small painting here today. It's just 13 inches square. I have some tape over here on all four sides. You don't have to have tape. Just be aware, I have drawn a quick little pencil sketch. I know you may need some time to do that, but the only part that's sort of requiring a pencil line just to be, on top of it so that you don't lose it or lose the structure is the pineapple head, and maybe find a spot for that tomato if you'd like. I think the rest of it, including the little pineapple chunks that are hidden back here, fairly easy to do with just a brush, or you don't have to pencil it in. You could use your brush as a pencil. I wanted to show you this painting. It's a slightly larger painting, so I can't fit it all on the screen right now, but it's in the comments, and you should be able to pick it up and look at it. I asked my friends, there's a wonderful watercolorist in New York, and she had posted an image of her tiny little plate of compost, a New Yorker's little plate of compost, and it was so beautiful that I had to paint it. That's the image you guys probably saw on the invitation or the event page on the Arts Council website. There was a round plate with some eggshells and such in it. That was what I painted from the artist's compost image. She gave me permission, and then I was like, I was on a roll. I kept asking friends for pictures of compost. Well, I hope we're all composting as much as we can. I sometimes am not particularly composting as much as throwing my veggie refuse in some part of my garden and hoping it becomes compost. So I'm not the best at it, but I'm learning. So here we go. All right. Rima, Mahima, we good? You guys
Yeah,
good?
we're good.
Yeah. All right. So
I'm
folks,
not sure. Sorry, I'm not sure where is, I don't see the image in the chat. Am I missing something?
so in the webinar chat, Mahima just posted both images to everyone. It should be there, but I'm gonna just send it to you on the side anyways. Rima, I'll just do that for
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yep, because you should have that actually. Yeah, give me 2 minutes, it will come to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So folks, as we set up, one thing you can consider definitely is to set up your paints, get them nice and wet. Oh, and I don't see it either, says Jean. Okay, this is interesting. If someone wasn't logged in when the doc was loaded, they will not see, just an FYI. All right, Yasmin. Here, I'm just going to do it again, guys. It's easy for me because I have it in here. Let's see if that goes through. There you go. Rima, do you think you can see them now? I just resent them.
I don't see it, but are you sure that it's being sent? It's in the email, okay. But are you sure that it's being send it to everyone, because it automatically changes to, just host.
Yeah, this is really strange. All right. All right, give me 1 second. I have to figure out how to do this. So I don't want to change this, and I want to quickly send this to you. So which means I don't have to do this.
Somebody said you have to click the icon, but I don't see an icon.
Yeah. All right. But you are co-host, and I need you to have this, Rima. So I'm just
Yeah.
sending directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Thank
Yeah.
you.
No problem. I'll send you both images, and you'll have that, and we will get going. All right. Sorry for that. I'm just taking another second to send her the image because I wanted to have it. Okay. All right. We'll get going in a second. Okay. Is the sound okay for everybody?
Yeah, Hema, looks like sound is good.
Rima, you guys hear me?
We can hear you now. Were you talking earlier?
Yeah, I was, and it wasn't letting me be heard for some reason. All right, I'm having too many glitches. All right, let's get going. I have a portable palette today that I'm just going to put across here. I'm not keeping an eye on the chat, guys. If you guys can let me know if anybody's missing anything. All right, I have a little portable palette that I thought it might be easier to show quickly what I'm mixing up. For those lovely pineapple leaves that I have up here, as you can see, I've just drawn those in position. I'm going to mix up a cold green. What does a cold green imply? It just means it has a bit more blue in it, okay? A bit more blue than the yellow. So that might look something like mixing up a little bit of cobalt, bringing in some yellow, and seeing what kind of green you get. And is that cold enough? And if it's not, I'm just going to add a little bit more blue in it. There we go. And let's see what that looks like. Okay, guys, my first leaf. We're just going to do it. Boom. Okay, just you see that? I took the tip here and then I pressed down and I just let it go. Very simple. I suggest that for today's painting, being that it is compost, we don't take it too seriously. We have some fun with this, like most of my images. I have a couple of darker values of greens and purples all ready to go. I'm going to show you another lovely little leaf here. So we're just boom going in, just a pineapple leaf. Don't get intimidated. And I hope you saw how I did that. I kind of put my brush down and I just sort of pushed out the water that way and let it go. Okay, really simple. If I want to add some texture at this point, I can. So for example, I'm taking a little bit of a sap green-like color that I have on my palette. And I want you to see how this creates a lovely line. You see that? It kind of bled into it. I could even add another striation if I wanted. Maybe even a dark line in the middle, just for fun. And you can see that. May or may not want it, but that's all right. I'm gonna have another blue-green on the side. Let's see, something like a bit of an ultramarine. Now, for some of you, you may or may not have all of these colors. Please understand that colors can be mixed up in all kinds of ways. You don't have to have the exact ones that I have. Even if you just sort of bring in as close a color as you can, it'll be fine, okay? So I'm gonna go do that, bring in some wet paint there and let that bleed in. If you see that, and you can go in and add a tiny touch of almost like a little purple brown or something. It is composting. So it's not going to be, you know, perfect, pristine pineapple, although sometimes we do throw those perfect heads. I wonder what we can do with the pineapple head though. All right, here we go. I'm going to add a bit of a blue cast to that side of the leaf. Just let it sort of bleed in there. Excuse me. Right, I have a dog in the house and she is seeing something outside the window. All right, we're going to go in for one more leaf here, and this time I'm thinking we'll do an underside of the leaf, which is about here, just kind of a slightly darker value. And right on top, I'm going to use a slightly yellowy value just to create a slight difference. So do you see, how, guys, how I'm very playfully creating these values? They're not too serious. I'm not trying to say like, and this has to be exactly this shade. We're just going to find our way in. So if you create a funky green, play with it. Just see what happens, see if it works for you. One of the tricks here that I am using quite deliberately is to press my brush down like so. And I'll show you one more over here. I'm gonna just press the point down and then just slowly pull it out and leave it. And don't go back in or resist the temptation if you can. If you do too much painting, sometimes it actually takes away the magic that watercolor provides us with, right? If I put a slightly darker pigmented line, it just bleeds into the other one. And how that happens is basically that if you have more pigment, which means a bit more of a thicker consistency to your paint, that bleeds differently. And often in watercolor, for those of us who are very new to this, quick little study on the side. This is a tea consistency watercolor with very little pigment, lots of water. Mix up some more pigment and you get something closer to this. And then mix up a lot of pigment and really go thick with it. And you get honey. So I'll often refer to this as tea, milk, and honey. Or just go with, less pigment, more pigment. All right. Also water. How do we use our, the main medium that watercolor is all about? I've got some green gold here, which is a lovely color. And it may or may not be in your palette, but trust me, it's something you won't forget. Doesn't it sound lovely? It's green gold. And I think that's what compost is, sort of like green gold. Does the best stuff for our gardens, for our planet. Here we go. I'm going to put in a little bit of a blue cast in the center here. So it looks like it's sort of coming in from a deeper value and going to a lighter, sort of unfurling. And if I ever want to lift something because I feel like it's too dark or too much paint fell and whatever, you can create a straw with your brush. So your brush is now damp dry, so which means I clean my brush out in the water container and then I pat dry it. And when I come to the paper, I can actually just suck this. The entire brush is thirsty and picks up the pigment. So I can do this. And you see how that happened? Yeah. But compost refer to a technique in watercolor. Is it the object being painted? Oh, that's a great question, Karina. I love that. So it's just my picture. The photograph we're using is actually some vegetable scraps and fruit scraps that will go into the compost pile. Yeah. Yeah. And we're seeing the beauty in that. I just glanced over and saw that comment. All right, I want to use something called bismuth yellow. I don't know, many people may not have this color, but it's a really crazy, crazy vibrant yellow. It's like a lemon yellow, but on steroids. Does that make sense?
Hey, Hema,
Yeah.
we have a question in the chat. Which
Yeah.
brush are you using?
Oh, yeah. All right. So I've been doing these sessions for a while, and I wanted to say to this question always that the brand is always Princeton. I try to stay with Princeton because they are just such a stable brand. They've been around forever. They're fantastic watercolor brushes. These are synthetic. I don't use natural hair. The long round, there are two types I use, the Velvet Touch and the Aqua Elite. But I also use their regular round, which is a lovely Princeton Heritage brush. This one today that I'm working with, because I have lots of, this entire painting has a combination of sharp, hard lines with pointy, surfaces and tiny little details, but also some washes. Now, when I want to do a really fat wash, I rely on my mop. This one's a fancy mop. It's a #4 Da Vinci Casaneo. But I also, give me a second, I love my Princeton mop, which is the Princeton Neptune Quill, I believe it's called Quill. Yeah, so to answer your question, these are generally the brushes I stick with. I do play, and like all watercolorists, we love to, test out new brushes, and we want to get more and more, our arsenal grows forever. But I will say that I have found that it's more about how you wield your brush than which brush. So, yes, it does help, but it's not that big a deal. All right, so here I'm just gonna pretend like there's this weird slice of pineapple. And we're gonna make it slightly spiky and round, a combination. And while it's nice and wet, I'm going in with just a tiny bit of my lovely burnt sienna. And see, here's what happens when you put some heavy pigment in your lovely wet passages. You get this beautiful, beautiful little soft glow to it. It just spreads so nicely. Now, if I take a bit more pigment, something a little stronger, and I bring in some more pigment right in the middle, it'll sit quite pretty. And depending on how wet the surface is, it may need some help. Now, like I showed you with the lifting, if I ever need to control that, I can always go in and use that straw technique and control it. If I don't want it to spread too much, I can control it. I can even bring in some of that yellow that I have and just control it, yeah? So there's a couple of areas that I do want to get cracking on. I'm going to quickly bring in some more colors into my pineapple here. So let's get this going, okay? I'm going to get some blue greens going. So that's more like this value. And another little purpley value that I want up here, which is almost like this. All right, one more bold purple green would be nice. So I'm going to just do, yeah, there we go. I think I overshot my brush stroke and went into the sleeve. So I'm just going to cover this up a little bit. There we go. There's another cold green that I wanted to use, which was my Viridian green, which most people have. And if you mute that green just a tad, you get a lovely, you get like this cold but beautiful deeper green here, like the one I have here. And then I'm going to just put down a few quick strokes. And let's see. I want a slightly blue-green cast again up here. So I love how this pineapple, we're getting all these different shades and it's totally fun. Totally something that I do whenever I'm painting. Sometimes I really want something to look very exact, in which case I would be, more controlled in my colors. But I feel like in this one, the whole point is to have a little bit of fun along with this crazy compost scene. So I'm just putting down some quick strokes here and just creating that sort of pineapple, very sharp edged leaves. If I need to correct any of those leaf shapes, I can do that a little later. Just remember that if you go with a bluer green, you're going to get that nice cool shade. If you go with a warmer yellowy green, you get a slightly more warmer shade. Just, some basic, just very, very simple color theory there for you. Here you go, a little of yellow in some of this. And there we go. Yeah, just a couple of, tops there. Anywhere I feel like it's not gotten cold enough and I feel like I'm just going to bring in some blue. See that? It's kind of fun to do that and then bleed some yellow into it. Okay, I'm going to call that done for now. And I want to go towards the tomato. That tomato is one exciting tomato to me. And you could use salt. So if you ever do a lovely watercolor with some salt effects, you'll see that that's a lovely way to paint. So this time, let's do a small mini wet on wet, which means that I'm going to actually wet this circle. And for everybody to be able to see it, I'm just going to add a tiny touch of color so you guys can see it on the camera. Hopefully it's not too washed out and you'll be able to see some color. It's mostly wet. I've left a couple of tiny white dots and you'll see why. I also have another brush on hand that's clean, wet, and dry, damp dry. This is so that I can quickly pick up anything that doesn't work out because I have to work fairly rapidly to make that tomato work wet on wet. I have a nice bright red Pirol Scarlet that I'm just kind of gonna smoosh into the corners there. And I can use this brush to halt its run. You can also bring in some yellow like I am right now. Just bring in some muddy yellow there because I wanted to create that slight tension in the skin that it's, what is it? Some kind of fungus that's growing on it. Here's some greens, some yellow greens because it's that lovely mold. And I'm just gonna sort of bring that in a bit, okay? Now, I do want a nice sharp center. And for that purpose, I am going to use this clean brush to sort of suck up some of the moisture here in the center, not too wet. And I'm going to go ahead and create a center for this with some very dark Payne's gray. Payne's gray is sort of like a blue-black. So if you have a black and you don't have a Payne's gray, that's totally fine. Just use a black. Just control the black. Don't use too much of it. Just a tiny bit, maybe mix it up with a little bit of blue. If you have Prussian blue, which many sets do have, then that works fine too. This is a bit of Payne's gray, which I'm now going to mix up with a little bit of muddy green that I have. And I'm going to mix that up and show it to you in a second. What happens is you can bring in this lovely mottled effect. And if you feel like you need to leave some whites, that's because you should. You see the reflection in there of the light, and you should definitely, in watercolor, always leave white. When in doubt, leave some white, and you'll be the better for it because you can then bring back some sunlight, some light or light, reflected light into it even. All right, I'm going to mix up some bright yellow with my red. And I'm going to make a nice bright orange, which, again, I'm going to use this clean brush to suck up some of this. I want some wet on wet effect, but I don't want it to be too strong. And there we go. I think it's coming along nicely there. A little bit of, we'll just model this a bit more. Bring in some more oranges here because it sort of looks like it's more an orangey tomato than a red tomato. I also don't want this to be a perfect circle. It is definitely not a perfect circle, guys. So if you have a badly drawn circle, that's exactly what we're going for. It's not bad, it's actually perfect. And here we go. So we're going to now leak in some of that weird green that I had and let that do its magic right down till here. I do want a much darker center. The center needs to be fairly defined. Like for me, that's kind of the magic. So I'm going to make sure that I create a nice strong center. There we go. Yeah. All right. Now, how do I get this to look, like how to get volume, how to make it look like three-dimensional? So part of that has to do with bringing in a deeper value on one side and a lighter value on the other, which is very simple. So I'm going to create a slightly muddy red, red-orange, because when I squint at this, and that's another trick I have for you guys, always squint at your photo reference, and you will get so much out of it because you'll be immediately able to see, what's light and what's not, what's dark. Where should you put a deeper value? You'll see a lot more because you are squinting versus just looking at it directly. So right now I see that there's this huge, deeper value here. And just by doing that, it punches up the other side, as you can see. I also want a tiny bit of this purple orange over here. So I'm just gonna leak that in, maybe even bring a touch of purple in. There we go. And I'd like a deeper color on this side, so I'm gonna mix up a little bit of this red-brown that I have in my palette and create a nice deeper, yeah, there we go. Yeah, let me know how that's looking for you. I hope that's working out. If you feel like it got too dark somewhere, you can always go back in. Watercolor is a slightly unforgiving medium and you have to be careful, but you can find ways to work with it. You just have to sometimes get a couple of, lift it a little bit, just lift some of this like I did with the straw effect that I was telling you about before, and you should get a nice effect. So for example, I'm going to leak in some yellows, sort of punch that up a little bit. There we go. Now, besides that, there's a bright yellow banana peel right behind that I'd like to, get going. So I have mixed up a little bit of the same bismuth Van Baked yellow, which is over here. I've kind of made it a little on the greener side, so I'm going to go back and wash my brush. I seem to have touched some paint on my palette. So just to give you a sense of how bright bismuth is, it's that bright. It's pretty insane. All right, so let's go in. I'm going to show this like this. And then it's a bit of a curve. Oh, and then let's do at least one of these pineapple bits. So I'm going to get this. I think if I'd done it a little more with some balance in where I position those things, it would look a bit more like a pineapple, but that's okay here. I also see that there's a lot of lovely fresh green. Let me get some green gold. So let's put some tiny bits of, so pineapples have this lovely green gold color, this lovely freshness, but they also have some browns and some burnt sienna in them. And if I just create that, it starts to feel like you've gotten some pineapple-y kind of effect. All right, while I'm waiting for the banana section to dry a little bit, oh, you know what, before it dries completely, we could use a tiny bit of burnt sienna mixed with something dark, just anything dark, just to make a dark brown. It looks something like this. And go in at the edges of this banana peel, which is definitely very sad looking. And we're going to drop in some color, you know, just so it sort of does its magic, and can drop a couple of dots. You know how banana peels look, and they're looking really sad. You could make that yellow a little warmer by adding, making it a cadmium yellow. Cadmium yellows are not as lemony, basically. They lean a little towards the red family. All right, how about some fresh onion peel, guys? So to make our onion peel, we need a lot of colored paint sets come with some alizarin crimson or permanent rose. It looks something like this, some kind of a red, deeper red. Yeah, basically. If you take a deeper red and you mix in a little bit of your cobalt blue or ultramarine blue, you'll get some lovely onion peel skin color. So something like this. Or mix in a bit more of the blue and you get this. Something in that range. And now we're going to put some of those peels right in there. Now, one of the tricks for this, which I love personally, is to take a brush, hold it like this. I have some amount of paint on this. Take one section like this, carefully, and then just leave it like that. You're just taking on the side, you're painting on the edge. When you paint like that, you get more for your buck. You're getting this lovely, here, let me show you what I'm getting. I'm sort of getting this lovely crispness to it. See? Okay, I'm going to do it again. Let me show you. Okay, I have a bit more of a purple cast to my brush. I have it on the entire brush, and I'm going to make this my line. And from there, I'm just going to swipe it this way, take another thing and swipe it that way. And it kind of looks sort of like it's got a highlight thing going on there, which is kind of pretty. If I want to create a bit more of a unique highlight, I can just go in with a little bit of water, make that nice. And the other way to do this, guys, is to use, all right, is to use a brush that looks somewhat like this. You may or may not have this, which is why I hesitate to use this too much, but it looks like this. These brushes are called either dagger brushes or what else are they called? They're called sword brushes. They look like this. They're at an angle. They cut at an angle. And what this does is, let's show you. I've got paint on the edges, okay? And I'm going to go in and create, you see that? Let's create some more. They're really quite pretty to be, gives you like more for your buck with just one stroke. You get more for your buck. See that? And that's just a lovely way to get a quick stroke, but also get some details as though there's very thin. I mean, it's already starting to look to me like they're thin peels, of some kind. Not pencil shavings, but some kind of onion peel skin. So hopefully that looks good to you guys. We will be sending in a better color corrected photo tomorrow. So don't fret, you will see one more version of this where I have the color just so. I know the color is not perfect on the video. So I'm just going to create some more of something with a little bit more blue in it almost. And I'm just playing with the edge of this brush to create this. See that? So I'm pretending like I have a whole bunch of onion peels right in there. Now I'm going to go back with my other long round pointed and finish that banana peel, for which I'm just using a nice soft warm brown. A warm brown could be mixed with burnt sienna. Now I am wetting this other half of the banana peel just a tad. If you see some of that orange come out, it's okay. Easy to suck it back up. So I said. All right, just gonna take that away for a sec. But I have made it just the right amount of dampness to do this. Okay, just this little detail that I want to. Here you go. A little bit of dark values there. Let's see. There we go. And now if it's too wet, which I can see from the side, I can adjust that, but I don't think it is. I'm gonna go in and do this, like a few strokes going this way. I may actually have, sorry about that. I may actually have to control this again a little later. But for right now, I have some controls here. So I'm just going to leave that there for now. Let's see what's next. Oh, some greens down here. Okay. Oh, and you know what? The edges of that pineapple, that would be really fun to have. So let's take some nice little burnt sienna maybe, and just create some edges there for the pineapple. Maybe even bring in some green gold like color. Depends on which section of the pineapple we've cut and how much of the skin is visible, etc. Maybe some slightly orange values. I can see some really deep yellow. And so I'm going to put some of that. And also, I don't think this yellow is just continuous straight bright color. So I'm going to put in some deeper values here like so. And go around with some edges. And often I find that if you try too hard with the edges to make them perfect, it doesn't actually look as great. It kind of looks more fun if you let it determine itself almost, like sort of, so here we go. I'm going to put in some darker dots there. And we're going to go in with some greens. All right. Now, to make some of that, whatever is spinach or whatever it is that I have over there, I'm going to mix up some greens. Now, how do you mix up lots of greens? This takes more of effort outside of such a, like a timed event. But whatever greens you have on hand, as long as they're sort of not too vibrant, because these greens are wilted. They're not exactly fresh greens. So I would go with something slightly dull, not too bright. And I would give it sort of this sort of few light areas where you don't put anything down, and leave some white of the paper, but also go in with some yellows and change the green profile so that it starts to look more more like wilted, dry, not so fresh leaves, which is exactly what we have in the compost pile. I'm also going to make a nice fresh stalk or two, just really bright. Now, if you used masking fluid, you'd have an easier time. Masking fluid, actually, yeah, it takes a little bit of effort to get to know how to use it, etc. But it's such a fun thing to do. So you can actually mask off something and keep it safe and be able to peel it back later. All right, guys, I'm going in with some dark values here because we really want to punch up that the skin. So we have some deep dark values, look, so that there's depth between it, because we do want them to pop. And for them to pop, we need a darker value. So here I am just putting in willy-nilly some, you can mix up some black if you want with some purples, or black mixed with a dark blue. I'm playing with whatever colors I have on my palette and not thinking too much about it. Okay. Now here between the leaves also, we need some kind of a dark value just so we can have them pop. So I'm going in and doing this, which gives me the opportunity to bring in a nice big pineapple slice here, and also create a nice warm color between the pineapple leaves so that we can see them better. Yeah. For those of you who are interested in the bowl, I know I'm doing chunks and pieces here that you're not getting the full effect, but you'll get, at least everybody will get something out of this, and they can do more with it based on their interest and experience. As you can see, this is actually a bowl. So I'm going to draw in some deep blue gray values here. And that gives you the hint of, there's a bowl back there. And it's just you don't have to do it perfect. It does not have to be perfect. Nothing ever has to be perfect. So just be easy about it. If you if you find that your circle is not perfect, throw a peel over it. It's okay. Just change it. Okay, so you don't have to have it all work out perfectly. And I'm sure I'll make a mistake and I can show you exactly how to rectify that. So here, right now, I just want you to draw some of this. Keep some light, some dark. And I'm literally drawing with my brush, right? So I was using some plain cobalt blue to get this metallic, sort of. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to let this bleed out a bit and leave some whites there so that it sort of looks like a, maybe it looks like an old aluminum bowl or something old, dented, whatever. And we want to fill it up. Now, to fill it up is going to take me a while. It probably won't happen in this one session, but if you guys get enough out of this, you will be able to do this on your own. So here, I'll fill up with a little bit of pineapple yellow. I have some raw sienna. That's another beautiful color to play with. I'm just gonna put some washes down like this. Let's see. Oh yeah, some warm colors here that I'm just gonna go back in and play with in a minute. But just by filling it up like that, guys, do you see how you can get so much? You can fill up a big space. This is 13 inches by 13 inches. And so far you've got a bunch of lovely little pieces. Maybe they're not all perfect, and maybe you need to work some more on them, but you're beginning to get at least some of it down. So here, I'm gonna also bring in some fresh greens that I'm just gonna create like so. And I want you to see how I'm using my brush tip to create these sort of just hinting at, various greens that are tucked away in this area. I'm also gonna create some leaves that are sort of sticking out here. Again, like if you make a mistake with your bowl, remember you can always add something in there, okay? Now around this, I do need some darks. And the reason I need the darks is because you wanna have a sense of depth between the leaves, right? So I'm just going in and adding some really rich darks, sort of really almost black green. And I like how this sort of plays with the green and bleeds into it and creates so much more depth than we really even painted in there, right? I didn't even do that much. I just added a few darker values. More than color, guys, understanding value is your best bet in any kind of painting. If you can understand how to use color value to advantage, you will get so much out of it. Let's see. Any questions that I've been missing or anything I can talk about, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm plowing ahead. It's now 7:43. I'm going to try and get a little bit of deeper value right there in the bowl, for which I'm going to go in straight up with, because I'm right next to this very green pineapple, or green value pineapple, I'm going in with a brown black. Now, brown black in here, although the steel bowl may not be brown black, it reflects colors. And since my leaves are fairly dry, I can go in and do this. And it creates this lovely contrast. So here we go. Let's see. I just have to adjust and figure out where there we go. A little bit in there. A little bit in there, a little bit in there. You see how you can sort of and whenever I want to adjust a value and very quickly do it, I just press my clean brush down and pick it up. You could bring in a touch of pure cobalt, always adds this lovely sense of a reflection, and it just immediately punches up. I like this bowl. This bowl reminds me of a beaten up bowl. And that's a nice, I like that. It kind of goes along with the whole composting theme. Not some pristine bowl, if you know what I mean. All right, now, when you've used so many colors and you want to have harmony, you want to use similar colors again and again, but you also want to create a little bit of, fun, like, oh my God, what is going on over there, sort of a feeling. And so for that, I am actually going to suggest that we use, hang on, just going to punch up this red in here a bit. It got a bit too pale. So I'm just gonna increase that. Yeah, there we go. All right. I'd like to add in some deep blue purples in here. And it's going to be a slightly warmer color. So again, mixing it up with that lovely rich brown and bringing it in here. Now, whenever you glaze like this, you can take advantage and create other sort of, as though there's other objects or other organic matter underneath, right? So you get a double thing going on. You have a glaze underneath, but you also have this sort of, oh, I wonder what else is underneath. And when you're doing that, you could change up the color. So for example, let me see if I add in some green values, it'll look different, that's all. It'll just add some interesting little pops of color in there. And now I'm gonna go back in with my blue-brown, because I really love how that contrasts against the steel bowl. So I'm gonna go back in there with this. And I'm gonna go back in there. And best part is here, you can kind of play around with this, mix up the colors, because that part of the steel bowl looks like it's exposed directly with no elements there. So I'm just using clean water and sort of playing it in and bringing it into the lip. Now the lip is more cobalt, and I know I have to somehow make it look like it's one bowl and not like a bowl with a separate lip, but we'll get there. It's okay. For those of you who are really new to painting, I understand that this may feel very advanced, or not. Maybe you guys are really like sailing along. I wouldn't know. But we have lots and lots of lovely watercolor classes at the Arts Council. Please feel free to look around and look at all the lovely artists who are teaching. There's Barbara Di Lorenzo, there's Elizabeth Massa, there's me. My name again is Hema Bharadwaj. You'll see it on that invite, and you can go look us up, look up our work, and join in for some watercolor magic. It is one of the harder mediums, that's for sure, but it's also one of the most rewarding magical mediums, where you can really get effects that you otherwise cannot get in other mediums. So there we go. What else? Let's see, 7:48. All right. I'm gonna put in a big chunk of warm sienna and some yellow, just to create like a lovely pineapple chunk here, and another chunk there, and some in there. I feel like, oh, and maybe a bit of a banana peel peeking out through there. So let's go in with a bit more of the bismuth, because that's more of the banana peel vibe. But to fill that up a little bit more nicely and give it some structure, I'd like to make some connections over here that will serve the purpose of some compost, So here we go. We are going to add some color in here, mostly burnt sienna, and that'll give a nice bit of warmth. And we don't know, but something warm is growing in there. Maybe it's stems, maybe it's little strokes like this. I don't know. Play around, make it a little tiny abstract painting in the midst of a whole bunch of, specific items. I feel like the greens here need to get a little deeper just so that they can stand up to that crazy vibrant yellow, or they need a darker background or something. So I'm just gonna change that up just a tad. And that's it. Just something to make that pop against that yellow. Oh, and some deep dark browns, like I was saying before. I love the idea of bringing in some warmth between those leaves. And maybe, let's see, a stalk or something, but in green. So I imagine that there's lots of little things living in here that have been thrown into the veggie scrap pile. And I'm just going to leave that for a moment so it can dry. I also want a little bit more of that onion peel color, which again, we go back to the alizarin crimson with a nice healthy touch of cobalt blue in there. And you get this beautiful, beautiful purple, but you also can increase that deep value by increasing the amount of pigment. So I'm just going to also bring in some pure red like this. It pops things. You see that? It really makes things like just pop. And it's such a beautiful thing to add in, so that you have a bit of vibrancy in that, in those peels that we put in before. There we go. Yeah. All right, what's next? Oh, I feel like the blue over here on the steel bowl could get some strokes of like, here's a little tip for you. So anytime you're drawing a curve and you're not sure, and in this case, because we know that the bowl is not a perfect bowl, just go staccato with your hand. Just go staccato like this. So start here and go and just sort of stop that train and leave a little bit and then go that. See, there we go. Yeah, you don't have to make it perfect. And I'm going to add some dark values here. Just add some lines there. Another little deeper value there. Just something to pop things. All right, let's see. I don't think I was too successful with the banana peel, but I'm gonna let it go for now. It's a bit too late to. I often use my brush like a pencil. I'll just go in and straight up draw as though it's a pencil. So here you go. So for example, I'm just drawing little details that I imagine can read as, I don't know, let's see, is this one? Oh yeah, I think this one we said was going to be pineapple. So let's go in and give this a nice warm glow on one side so that it looks a little bit more like it's got a shadow. And go in with some deep burnt sienna almost and sort of create a few dots. I've got some more of a dark value here. Okay. This area seems unresolved to me, and I really want a sort of green color around this. So I'm just gonna go in and create as though there's some kind of, I don't know, something has been put in here that looks something like this. And that should kick it up a little bit. We'll bring in some yellow and burnt raw sienna to do this. Oh, and right in here, there has to be some darkness because it's between that tomato and inside the peel. So I'm just gonna do that, sort of imagine it's darker. I'm gonna put a bit of a shadow underneath that. And maybe even underneath this. So the tomato looks like it's sitting on top of it, you know. Well, let's see. Did we get most of it? I think we did. I feel like a slight green gold wash on top of one of these leaves here, and maybe one more over here. We'll just punch up those greens a tad. I hope you can see that just by glazing it like that, you get a nice, you know, freshness. that may not have been there before. And in one of these, I feel like there's some lines almost going, through the leaf, through those dry leaves. And so I'm just going to draw a couple of lines in there. I should give you a sense of some different textures and techniques that I've used today to create this crazy compost pile. And I hope you see the beauty in it just like I do. So I'm going to open up the floor. I don't know if there's a way to, maybe people have to send me questions or comments. And I don't know if I can unmute people. I probably can't. I don't know. I don't have tech support, guys. Mahima, Rima, and I are doing this on our own, and we all have some tech ability. All right. Oh, thanks, Robin. Thank you. Yeah, it's so fun, right? It's just a crazy thing how compost can be so beautiful. I know when that picture went out, I wondered if people would stop registering for this because, like, really, gonna paint some compost. Hey Liz. Okay, is this Liz Massa? I love you too. Hey Yasmin. Yeah, and I love compost too, and I've learned so much from my gardening friends. I should be doing a better job composting and creating actual manure and not just returning my scraps to the grounds, but little by little, I will learn. Okay, do you have any advice on painting faster? I noticed my results were good, but I had trouble keeping up with the work. Srishna, yes, I hear you. I'm not quite sure how much experience you've had with watercolor. I am a fairly fast painter, and that's the only reason I take on subjects like this, even though there's only an hour. Normally, I would take at least a few hours to do this if I was doing it the way I did. For those who missed it, we have this image, which is the original bigger painting that I can't even show you because it's so massive. It's in the text somewhere, or we'll send it in the email when I send this in tomorrow. But I just wanted to say that you can paint faster if you have your pigments ready to go, nice and wet, ready as in maybe squeezed out of your tubes. I don't recommend, if you want to work fast, it's a little trickier to work with dry pigments that are already sitting on your palette or are in a sorry, what is it called? Oh my God. Palettes with wells of paint in them that are, from factories or whatever, they can get pretty dry. Some of them re-wet fast, some don't. So you just have to make sure that your paint is ready to go. The moment you touch it with the brush, it should just immediately give you rich color. If that's the case, then you can paint much faster. Sally, you're so welcome. I'm happy to paint garbage.
Hema,
yes.
this is Rima.
Yeah, hey,
if it helps with Srishna,
yeah.
I am not as skilled, anywhere close to as skilled as Hema or as practiced, but you can take a look at mine.
Yes,
This is my fast painting, but it's not the greatest, but here we go.
Oh my God, there you go. Hey, that's awesome, Rima. That is awesome. Can I just pin you? Give me 1 second. Let me pin you so people can see. Replace pin. There we go. Yay. Oh, congrats. Hey, that's super fast. Yeah.
And if it makes you feel better, was the slowest painter ever, so it helps.
No, it does. And more importantly, Rima's been painting for a few semesters. And it's not just that she's been painting, like, in my classes with me, but she's been painting at home. She does a lot of work outside of class. I don't know, Rima can say about that more, but yeah, you see a difference, Rima, in your...
Oh, Hema, I think so. Hold on. Let me cancel this. I am signed in twice because I'm on my computer and also on my phone. And so when you pinned me, you pinned my computer, not my phone.
Oh, sorry. I thought we saw your
Maybe.
picture for a second, but maybe it's gone now. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm just, I'm technologically.
No problem. Mahima, do you want to show,
Yeah.
if you like sharing, Mahima?
Oh, I didn't follow along because this is like my first one.
I know, right? It was your first.
I was
Yeah,
like-
no, it was so kind of you guys to join and co-host though. Thanks for helping.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
But I do want to just say, like, I'm a pretty slow painter.
Yeah.
And for a person like me, I think it works. Like I tend to do some and then leave it and then go back to it.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I find that for me, that helps me get like a different perspective, not fall into like the trap of need to get this done, right? Like a lot of times in watercolors, you have to let things dry. So it's also an exercise in patience.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great point, Mahima. And you're right. So we do not need to paint fast. But yes, painting fast, the one benefit I will say is sometimes it's a good idea to do it so that you don't get caught up in details, so that you allow yourself to just play and roll with the mistakes, so-called, quote unquote, mistakes can be beautiful. They can be fun. They can lead to like exciting new ways of painting. But if you have a fixed image in mind that you want to paint, you want it to look a particular way, you probably won't paint fast because there's no point to it. The whole point is to then achieve a result. A big part of my painting style, I guess, is to be loose, fairly free flowing in my, the way I paint it. So I guess that's why I do paint fast. I hope some of that helped you, Srishna. And I'm sorry you had trouble keeping up, but it's also it's a tough one. It's a free 1 hour crazy go crazy with Hema kind of a painting class. But you're welcome to look at this as a YouTube video, which it will go up in the next day or so. And there's more up there on YouTube from my previous free sessions, if you'd like to follow along. Deborah, you said we didn't see it. I'm so sorry. What is that you didn't see?
I think Rima's.
Maybe Rima's. Oh, that's right. Rima, do you want to show your piece so I can now pin you again? Hey, so welcome, Srishna. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, you got this, Rima?
Yeah, I'm trying to, oh, there we go. There we
Ah,
go. Here it is.
Yay.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, wait, I should pin you.
Okay, can you see that?
Continue. There we go. Yes.
I mean, you can generally make out a tomato and some leaves.
Oh,
That's about it.
absolutely. Absolutely. And well, I love it. I like that the pineapple looks nice and pineapple-y and it's got that bright yellow. Well, I mean about the fleshy parts, and then the leaves look, of course, like pineapple leaves. And that purple, that lovely purple for the onion, and it contrasts so nicely, right? It stays right there in the middle of that bowl and it helps create
Yeah.
a nice value difference between the warms on the right and the left. So that's
Yeah,
nice.
the bowl isn't circular, but that's okay.
So that was what we were talking about. It's like I want us all to
Yeah.
imagine the beating up metal bowls that we have, lying around that get used for all kinds of things. So yeah, thanks for sharing, Rima.
No problem.
Yeah. Wait, okay, how do I do this? Okay, go back to my thing. I wanted to say one last thing, guys. Okay, I wanted to also say that if you look at your paintings upside down and also in a mirror, you'll find that you'll make great progress in noticing things that you otherwise didn't notice. That's just another little thing. Anytime you want to check in on whether something looks right or not. Yeah. You're so welcome, Amy and everybody. Yes, thank you. I know I'm supposed to, it's 8:03. I'm supposed to stop recording. Thank you for co-hosting, Mahima and Rima. And I'll hopefully see you all again soon. Please feel free to look at the email tomorrow. It'll have a bunch of links to classes as well as the images. And happy watercoloring.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you so much.